Hi guys, Korean movie recapped here. Before we start, warning. Spoilers ahead. Today, I'm going to recap a 2013 Korean drama movie called No Breathing. The film is about the friendship of two swimmers who just moved to an athlete school because of some reasons. It turns out that they fall in love with the same woman who was their childhood friend. One day, a national swimming competition is going to be held. They use this opportunity to bet whoever loses the competition has to walk away from that woman. Are they still good friends after all of that? Who finally won the woman's heart? Let's find out together. A bad student has just been expelled from his school after being caught drinking in the school environment. His name is Won. However, being expelled from school doesn't make him sad at all. Instead, he happily meets his adoptive father and eats a lot without feeling guilty. His adoptive father tells him that he would send him to an athlete school so he could still get his high school diploma. It means Won has to start swimming again after years of not swimming. He immediately refuses it because he really hates swimming. But his adoptive father reminds him of his promise to his late mom to get a high school diploma. He agrees with a heavy heart. On the other hand, a South Korean national swimmer, Sang, has just returned after competing overseas. But he had a problem during the competition. He is suspected of committing violence against an athlete from another country. The media blows up this case, making the Korean Swimming Federation concerned about the issue. They advised Sang to have a new start to win back public sentiment. Therefore, his father sends him to an athlete school where he has to start his path from the bottom to get into the national swimming team again. Meanwhile, Won's adoptive father is trying to get Won into the athlete school. He asks his friend who is a swimming coach in that school to help him. He says that Won is a talented swimmer and he can help the school to win swimming competitions. At first, his friend says that it's hard for Won to get accepted into the school as it is already the second semester. But he keeps on persuading his friend until he finally agrees to accept Won. And finally, Won goes to his new school. He will be living in the school dormitory during weekdays. Apparently, he is assigned in the same room with Sang. Sadly, Sang doesn't want to be his roommate. He asks his coach to assign him to a private room because he thinks that he is special. His coach refuses his request even though he knows that Sang was a national athlete. Studying in athlete school is very tiring. They immediately join the daily practice on their first day. Before practice, their coaches introduce Won and Sang to their seniors. Of course, they already know Sang. Meanwhile, Won forgets to bring his swimsuit so he can't join the practice. It makes two of his seniors see him as a unique student and ask him to be friends with them. They invite him to their room and bribe him with food and alcohol. At first, Won refuses to drink the alcohol because he doesn't want to be expelled again. But still, he ends up drinking it and gets drunk that night. The next day, the coaches gather them all in the swimming hall. They angrily tell the students that they received a report that a student was drunk last night. They give a chance to whoever did this to admit, or else they will punish every student. Won immediately admits his actions, but he doesn't seem to regret it at all. Hence, his coaches punish him to swim 500 laps. It makes him almost drown. It turns out that Won and Sang were rivals during their childhood as they participated in the same swimming competitions. Apparently, Won was better than Sang because he got more gold medals than him. They still remember each other, but Sang thinks that a past is just a past. On the other hand, his coach sees that Won is often not serious during the practice. He doesn't show any interest in swimming, contrary to what his adoptive father said. His coach disappointedly complains about it to his adoptive father. However, his adoptive father is not mad at Won. He really understands that Won has his own reasons for hating swimming. It turns out that Won hates swimming because swimming has taken up a lot of his father's time to practice, leaving his father no time to play with him. As a swimmer, all his father did was only swim, swim, and swim. One day, Sang is going to meet his childhood love, bringing a flower. He's been so busy swimming all this time that he doesn't have time to be in a relationship. But Sang is so surprised when he meets Won at her house. It turns out that Sang's childhood love is Jung, the daughter of Won's adoptive father. That evening, Jung invites her friends for a barbecue party. Sang realizes that Won and Jung are very close and it makes him jealous. In front of everyone, he did a crazy thing by saying that he likes Jung. Everyone is surprised. The day after, Won keeps bothering Sang by telling him to get away from Jung because he secretly likes her too. He suggests Sang to find another girl because he knows that Sang must have many famous girl friends. But that doesn't stop Sang from approaching her, even though she is just an ordinary girl. He even asks her to go out and eat together with him. Won is afraid that Jung will love Sang. On the other hand, they are going to participate in a national swimming competition and they got an opportunity to conduct a training camp in the Philippines. They met a lot of swimmers from other countries there. It seems that they are having a bit of conflict with the Australian swimmers. But instead of fighting, they agreed to finish the conflict sportively, by a relay swimming race. The Australian swimmers are dominating the race at first, but the situation is turning when it comes to Won's turn. He is using a high-level technique called no breathing. Everyone is shocked seeing Won's performing such a hard technique, including his coaches who coincidentally see the race. Won's talent finally leads them to victory. Sang practices harder after seeing Won's potential. His senior, Lee, knows that Sang is good at training himself. He asks Sang to mentor him in practice as he really wants to be selected as the school's representative for the upcoming national swimming competition. Sang agrees and starts to train him to the fullest. But the hard practice triggers his acute back injury. However, Sang told him not to worry about his injury. He believes that every swimmer has minor injuries. Lee's hard work finally paid off. He is selected to represent the school in the competition, along with Sang and 3 other students, but not Won. It's because his coach doesn't see his passion in swimming even though he can do the no breathing technique. One of the seniors is not happy with the coach's decision to choose Lee. He knows about Lee's injury. When he has a chance, he brutally kicks Lee's back to worsen his injury and threatens him to resign from the competition. Lee thinks that his safety is in danger, so he decides to leave the school secretly. However, Won knows about it and manages to stop him before he departs. But his determination to resign is unanimous. The day after, Won clearly hears his senior's words about what he had done to his good friend, Lee. He can't control his emotions anymore and brutally abuses his senior. He is furious that a swimming competition could make someone do such dirty things to his friend. Moreover, it turns out that Won really hates swimming all this time because his father died in his last swimming competition, doing no breathing technique. What his senior did increases his hatred of swimming. Because of this incident, Won is finally expelled from his school again. Won is depressed and locks himself in his room all day. Nobody can persuade him to open the door. At one point, Won opens the door because he is annoyed by the voice of someone trying to open the lock. Turns out it is Sang's locksmith. He is worried about Won's condition, so he gives him a tablet and tells him to check it soon. Apparently, there is Won's father's interview video on it. In that interview, Won's father said that the competition where he died was actually going to be his last race. Lack of quality time with his family was his main reason to retire. However, he stated that he couldn't retire without a good record, therefore he wanted to set a good record on his last race and would dedicate that record to Won. And finally, he said that he loved Won so much and promised that after that race, he would spend more time with him and his wife. This interview video removes his hatred towards his father. On the next day, Sang comes to Won's place again, somehow bringing him the registration form for the national swimming competition. Won is very happy and enthusiastic about receiving this form. His passion for swimming is finally back. He appoints his adoptive father to be his coach during his preparation for the upcoming competition. He gives Won a lot of training and Won trains really hard. He is really ambitious to be the national champion. On the other hand, Sang also prepares his best to face the competition. He is assisted by many advanced technologies to monitor his training progress. This competition is very important to him as it will open his way to return to the national team. On one occasion, Won made a deal with Sang. Whoever loses the competition has to walk away from Jung. Sang accepted the challenge. This bet makes both of them train even harder. Finally, the competition day comes. The swimming hall is crowded by so many people. 8 best swimmers across South Korea are ready to perform their best. As soon as the race starts, Won and Sang immediately dominate the race. The audiences are surprised because Won and Sang are swimming at a world record pace, even though it is just a national competition. Sang's experience as a national swimmer leads him to swim this fast, while Won's no breathing technique makes him able to swim at this pace. Towards the finish, they are very close and then seem to finish at the same time. But it turns out that Won is ahead by a fraction of a second and surprisingly breaks the world record. What an insane match! But how about their bet on Jung? In the end, Jung finally knows that they love her because she overheard them quarreling about the bet. She laughs out loud because they made such a silly bet while she loves none of them. Won and Sang are very ashamed, but it's not a big deal since they can still be good friends. However, the ending also shows that Won and Sang eventually become representatives for South Korea at the Olympics. Their hard work finally paid off. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.